Hey everybody, welcome back into the video. I've been noticing there's this recent preview event for a game called Lords of the Fallen, which is apparently like a sequel to a game from 2014 that apparently didn't do so hot when that game came out, at the beginning of the 8th generation. And so now it's getting some sort of sequel in October, I believe? I think October 13th. Anyway, there was a recent preview event, and I guess a website interviewed some of the people from on the technical side of things, and they kind of gave some detailed resolution, for the consoles, and it develops a very interesting picture. It's very concerned. And if I were a console player, I mainly game on my PC now, so this doesn't really affect me. For console folks, in my subscriber count or whatever, or anyone who has to see this video, I'd be very concerned if I were you, if you care about performance, good performance in your games. But anyway, let's read the article. Then we'll get on with it. So, during a recent Lords of the Fallen preview event, WFC Tech, Kerry Powell went hands-on with the game, developed by Hexworks and published by CI Games. Following the session, he also talked with the creative director and executive producer. During lengthy conversation, Kai extracted the technical details about the game's performance and quality mods on PlayStation 5 and Series X. On both, we offer performance and quality modes. The performance mode goes at 60 FPS and 1080p upscaled, which is kind of standard in the industry. The quality mode, however, is 1440p running at 30. Even if you play at 60, Lords of the Fallen looks really good. Hexworks' game will be one of the first AAA Unreal Engine 5 showcased. During the interview, the developers highlighted the technical enhancements enabled by Epic's latest version of Unreal Engine. So before we continue with the other part, I kind of want to point 1080p in 2023. I guess for these consoles, it seems that we're starting to get out of the cross-gen period, which ran for way longer than I ever expected this generation to go when it comes to the transition from cross-gen to, I guess what is now considered current gen. So very interesting, but notice that they didn't mention the Series S, because they only pointed out the X and the PlayStation 5. You notice that? It's very interesting with the Series S, though. We'll delve into that a little bit in this video once I finish reading the article to you. Anyway, continuing. When we started the project, Unreal Engine was not available back then, which makes sense. Games typically take, 4 to 6 years now, if not longer. But we always had a branch with whatever Unreal Engine 5 pre-launch builds were available. We always made sure the game was compatible. When it was production ready, we just swapped the whole thing to Unreal Engine 5. The most powerful and, let's say, game-changing technology was the Lumen system, because it allows us to forego light maps the old school way. Whenever we came back to designers, the artists, and hey, can we move that window just a little bit to the right, or slide focus on this corner? They'd be like, yes sir. They would move it and click render with the towers. And maybe wait, oh, sorry, I meant 3 meters, not 2. With Lumen, all this process is now in real time. It's the most important UE5 feature for us. Now is also great because you get a bump of quality everywhere on top of those two. There are elements like the chaos physics, which really helps with all the clothing, and improvements on animation pipelines that allow us to make movement more fluid for both enemies and player characters. UE5 is a huge leap in technology, and it's going to even better. Lords of the Fallen is scheduled to release on October 13th for the PC, PlayStation 5, and Series X and S. So yeah, as you can see here, this game, it still kind of points the picture. There's other ones too. No matter how god awful that game was, Forspoken, that game on the PlayStation 5, right, ran at 720p. Think about that for a minute. It feels like these consoles are already getting tapped out, and we're starting to get out of the cross, even though there's still some games coming out that are cross generation. Like Armored Core 6, that's coming out pretty soon, and that's cross generation. I mean, there's other examples out there, obviously, but it's starting to get smaller and smaller to the point where developers are finally starting to move on from the 8th generation consoles. And remember, folks, the CPU for the PS4 and the Xbox One were made for laptops, so they were pretty dog shit when those consoles came out in 2013. Especially the Xbox One, because, Microsoft cut back on things so that they could shoehorn in the Kinect. How did that work out for you, Microsoft? How'd that work out for you? But anyways, you get my point, though. It seems that, when these the ninth generation started, the specs seemed pretty adequate, or they were close to it, where we kind of didn't, people didn't feel the need for a mid-gen refresh. But here's the thing now, because there's rumors out there about Sony making a PlayStation 5 Pro for November of 2024. So a little more over a year from now. And Microsoft and Phil Spencer's apparently saying that Microsoft isn't going to do a mid-gen refresh, but there's been apparently that's been misquoted or something like that. So who knows though? If Sony doesn't, I would not be surprised if Microsoft does their own mid-gen refresh as well. I personally wouldn't care since I have a very capable gaming PC that will more than likely still be more powerful than those two. I mean, my specs are pretty high end, a 4080 as you all know, but that's not me, bragging or anything. I'm just saying. But you kind of get my point though. It seems like this gen was coming into it was pretty adequate when the consoles came out 3 years ago, and it seems like the consoles are already getting tapped out. Maybe it's due to the fact that because we were on cross-gen for so long. Maybe that's why. But who knows though? I mean, there's been some current-gen games coming out. Don't get me wrong, like Forspoken, Final Fantasy 16. I believe Flight Simulator requires cloud for it to be on the Xbox One. I believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But Ratchet and Clank, Demon Souls remake. Those are just some examples. Notice that more of them are on Sony's side than Microsoft's. I mean, Redfall. But then again, that game was a disaster, much like Forspoken was. So, and those games are, current gen, quote unquote. And Starfield is, but we'll see how Starfield pans out as that's coming out in a few weeks. Really excited to actually play that game, so because I think it looks really good. Hopefully it's as good as it looks. That's all I'm saying, Bethesda. If it's like any buggy mess, like really bad, ooh, man. Ooh, Microsoft could really use a win right now when it comes to their first party stuff. They could really use a win right now, coming off of Redfall. But, yeah. So it's very interesting to see, so now people are probably second guessing themselves about, yeah, maybe we need these pro consoles after all. Because last generation, it made sense with how, underpowered the PS4 and Xbox One were from the get-go. Like, especially the Xbox One, like I said, before. But now it seems like with Sony already talking about a Pro, allegedly, that's coming out next year, like I said. But this time, though, I didn't see much of a reason. Because, remember, folks, the reason the Pros for last generation, came because 4K was already being, really taken over back then during last generation after those consoles released. So it made sense back then. Not to mention they were so underpowered. It made sense for Sony and Microsoft to do a mid-gen refresh, which is not that often for home consoles. And now it seems that it might be happening again. I don't see as big of a reason as it was last generation. Simply because I felt the consoles were pretty adequate. I've seen others say that too. So that's why people are pausing themselves, question themselves, do we really need one? But with games coming out now that are current gen, these consoles are already struggling to maintain a solid frame rate. I mean, Starfield is at a 30 FPS, so. And there's no performance mode for that game, but then again, that game is so complex. But it still doesn't excuse that it's probably going to be a frame drop everywhere, probably, because it's Bethesda. I mean, it's a creation engine. That's what it is. But their games are really taxing, though. So it's going to be interesting to see the analysis from that game. It's going to be very fascinating. I'll be playing the game on both Xbox and PC, so I'll get a solid frame rate no matter what. Either way. But yeah, very interesting to see where this is headed. I don't know. This console generation is very strange. This is coming from somebody who just joined the PC master race, quote unquote. But it's really weird. So I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows, though. But I guess time will tell. But anyway, I got a question for all of you that happened to see this video. If the rumors are true about a mid-gen refresh from both Sony and Microsoft release, are you going to be picking them up? And if so, which one? I'm curious to know. For me, I'm not going to. Why would I when I have a capable gaming PC where I could get games from both Sony and Microsoft now. Sure, Sony's aren't day one, but I think that'll happen eventually. When? Who knows? Maybe with the PS6 or whatever, maybe. So I've had people telling me that they're predicting that, and I agree with them. I will not be surprised, but who knows where this industry is headed? I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting where this is headed, especially with how Microsoft responds. And before we end this video, I want to talk a little bit about the Series S situation, because notice that the developers did not mention the Series S version yet in terms of like performance. And I've been noticing something, because it seems that the Series S is holding back the Xbox brand, because as of recently, developers are struggling to get games working properly on there. Like, for example, Baldur's Gate 3, that just released. The reason the game isn't on Xbox, or isn't coming to Xbox the same day as the PlayStation version, is because they can't get split screen working right on the Series S. And that's going to make them take more time. From what I've seen, apparently it's a memory issue with the S. So, I mean, it's a lower spec, Xbox. But if I were Microsoft, I kind of would look into maybe, initially make the Series S version cloud only, while the, developers kind of use the extra time to get a certain feature working, because Microsoft demands parity between both their Series X and S version for when games released from both their first-party teams and their third-party teams. The reason I say that, because for Forza fans, they just found out that split screen, again, notice that this is a thing with split screen I've noticed when it comes to games on Xbox, that they don't come out day one, or end up not coming at all. Like, look at Halo Infinite, for example. You remember what happened there? Just saying, but then again, that game is cross-generation, though, while the other two are current-gen. So, I don't know. If I were Microsoft, it's a problem for Microsoft, and if I were them, I'd fix it, because it's not a good look for them. It's really not. But that's all I gotta say on that. But anyway, that's it for this video. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section below. And if you like this video, hit the like button. And consider hitting that sub button so you don't miss any more videos. Or whenever I feel like live streaming, you won't miss out on that either. And I'll see you in the next one. Till then, have a good one.